Still pretty cool.
Shake.
Want to say hi?
No, not like that. The longer a plan takes to complete, the more changes are made along the way. In the beginning of this project, the white car was supposed to be restored. Because a better shell was found, the white car will now be the parts car. And around April 30th, a better engine was put up for sale and bought by me. Not only is it a late model map sensor distributorless ignition 4AGZE, but this motor previously ran in an AE86, meaning it's already set up for the car. It came equipped with a Dr. Tweak harness, so it's pretty much plug and play. Additional bonus items included an SC14 supercharger from maybe a preview, a brand new Techno Toy Tuning 175mm oversized crank pulley kit, front mount intercooler with the proper pipes, 2 ECUs, just in case, and 3SGT throttle body? I don't know, I've never heard about this mod or upgrade. So now, I'll be using the trans out of the white car, along with the new clutch and resurfaced flywheel I installed a while ago. But first I'll have to take the motor and trans out of the white car. Removing all the bits that could get snagged during the removal process is essential. Stuff like the intake and engine wiring, either remove it or just move it somewhere else that won't get it in the way. Here I'm using an engine load leveler, something that'll make this job a little easier. Next, using a 17mm closed wrench, I remove the nuts that hold the engine mounts to the cross member. There should be a large washer, a lock washer, and a nut. Same with the passenger side. The trans mount will also need to be removed. I'll be using a 14mm socket with a big ass ratchet. Note that I use a jack to hold the transmission in place to relieve the pressure off the bolts. 4 bolts holds the trans mount onto the chassis. I must have cleaned this before installing because it looks pretty damn clean. Lower the car back down. Don't let it roll away. Make sure to put something on wheels to stop it. Put the engine crane into position and hook up the leveler, which should be set to center. Whoops, forgot to take out the radiator. I would say 80% of the time I hit the radiator support with the oil pan. It's best to clear anything that might be attached to it. Pause right here.
Hey, what radiator is that?
Well, if you must know, it's a generic eBay Honda Civic aluminum 3-row radiator. Pretty cheap and small, does the job, and leaves room on the sides to fit the intercooler piping. Some advice during engine removal. Take your time, be patient, take steps, don't try to muscle things out or you might just end up breaking something. Do an initial crank of the engine hoist until the engine stops moving. Examine what is touching or preventing the engine from moving any further. In my case, the exhaust manifold got stuck in between the steering shaft and chassis. This will have to be removed. Luckily for me, only one nut was holding it in its place anyway. And one rusted OBX exhaust manifold. Then go back to cranking the engine hoist. You can start to see the transmission is being held down by the trans tunnel, causing the engine to tilt drastically. The goal is to get the bottom of the oil pan over this radiator support. See the trans? I'm just going to keep cranking it up until the engine won't go anymore. Make sure to jiggle it once in a while. Rock it back and forth. See, there's me hitting the support with the oil pan. I never fail to do this. A little more cranking and the oil pan should be higher than the support. And now at this point, give it a little tug forward to see where it goes. If the oil pan clears the support, or in my case, sit atop the support, your next move is to keep going forward and get the trans out of the tunnel, which by now only the tip should be underneath it. Again, back to cranking and jiggling. Now this is where the engine leveler comes into play. What it does is it lets you move the angle of the engine by moving the anchor point. In this case, I want the front of the engine to go higher and the trans to go lower. You see how this works? More cranking and ta-da! Trans is out of the tunnel. Next is to get the lower half of the bell housing to clear the radiator support. Some more cranking will do it, but remember you can change the angle of the engine with the leveler. Some minor adjustments and it's out. Four bolts hold the bell housing to the block, all 17 millimeters. An additional 2 bolts hold the starter to the bell housing, both 14 millimeters. I like to put the bolts back in their place so I don't lose them, or forget where they go. Note here that these 2 bolts on the side are a lot bigger than the top 2 bolts here. However you want to do it, you can now take off the transmission. Just don't break the rear water neck temp sensor. Thank you, Vic. Appreciate it.
Look at that. Vic did that.
It's not what you do.
Still shiny and yellow from the last time I saw it. 6 12mm bolts hold the thing to the flywheel. Yes, I should have used a gun. And there you go. 8 14mm bolts hold the flywheel to the crank. And using Joe's brand new DeWalt impact gun, I was able to remove them easily. Seriously, I need to buy one of these. Jiggle the flywheel side to side, up and down, until it pops out. Here's the 2 motors safely in my storage. Anyone want to buy a 4AGZE?